at 6:05. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first order of business this evening is our budget public hearing. So our superintendent and business administrator will present our 2023-2024 school budget.
Can everyone hear me? Nice. So welcome to the 23-24 Highland Central School District proposed budget. We will be putting that budget up in just 2 weeks from today. So we're going to walk through the highlights of that budget. Before I do, I'd like to thank Lindsay Idell, my school business administrator, for all of the hard work that she and her staff have put into this presentation and pulling all these numbers together for us. I don't know if it's a labor of love, but it's definitely laborious what they went through. And also thank you to the Board of Education for your support during the budget building process this year. Sorry. All right, so one of the first things that we have to do as a school district is we have to present a budget every year, and we have to put out a balanced budget. So we find out what our revenues are, we look at what our expenses are, and at the end of the day, those have to match. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were a couple of $100,000 off, and the administrative team got together with some input from the board, made some decisions, and got that down to a balanced budget of $52,476,480.
Okay, so the budget is basically a financial plan that supports programs for the district. So by law, in New York State, you need to break your budget into 3 parts. So that's administrative, program, and capital. So our 3-part budget shows that almost all of our increase is going into program, which is great benefit for the district for us this year. You'll see on the program it's about $3.5 million that is going into that category. So this is just another way of showing the budget in 3 parts. If you look at the percentages, we have capital at 14%, administrative at 9%, and program at 77%. So what that means is that 77 cents for every dollar is being spent on program in this budget. So this is another way to look at the budget grouped into different sections. So what you have here is general support, and that's the support segment not in the classroom. Instruction is program and extracurricular, transportation, community service. Undistributed, what does that mean? So that is employee benefits, retirement, and debt service. So that's broken down here. And if you refer back to 2 slides, as I showed you before, in that 40 million that we're increasing, that 3.477 million, that is where that increase is going into program. Our next slide shows how much of our payroll goes into the budget. So this year it's 72.87%, and this also goes payroll and benefits. And this is similar to the percentage that we had last year as well, and it's pretty standard in most districts for benefits.
And that makes the most sense because that's what our school is built on. Built on the humans that run the programs and provide our instructional services for our students. And so that's always around somewhere in the 70s with any school budget.
So now this is a budget-to-budget revenue adjustments. So you'll see here our biggest increases in state aid. So this is what the governor had wanted us wanted each district to get closer to what their foundation aid is. This is where this is coming into play. You'll see a decrease here in other revenue sources. Last year, or this current year, we paid the BOCES capital project in cash. This year, we are not doing that. The increase to the tax levy, you'll see as 1.277290 or 4.17%. And that's our total budget increase, budget to budget, is that 3.4 million. Again, going program.
And the important part to note, and this is that although you see percentages here, this does require a simple majority. This is at the tax cap limit. So you hear that 2% tax cap, that is one small portion of the larger budget. So everything that you're seeing today fits right into that 2% tax cap, that one small piece that comes down from the state. You always hear that percentage out there, so we like to show the difference.
It's a portion of the formula that creates the budget. And this is the revenue broken up again. So on that previous slide, what's added in here is that we are using 1.15 million in fund balance from this year's budget to next year. And it shows you the breakdown once again of our 3.4 million. Now, this slide is an estimated calculation of the tax impact on the town employee. So what this shows is an estimate. We don't get the final equalization rates from the county until July. So how we factor this is by using last year's equalization rates. So for a house, for every $100,000, you're looking at a monthly increase of about $8.45 for every $100,000 for this budget.
And this is based on the town employee. We have other municipalities that factor in, so at times some are a little higher than this, some are a little lower, but the majority of our district is the town employee, so that's why we choose this one. We tried to do what the numbers were from every year. This slide would be off the
And again,
projector.
it's just an estimate based on those tax rates.
So what's included in this budget? So those are the numbers. That's what we're proposing. That's what's been put up, and we're asking voters to let us know how they feel about that on May 16th. This preserves all of our current programming in the district. One of the big benefits that we started this school year was a school resource officer program. If folks remember, last year that program started. The town of Lloyd had a grant that they funded half of our school year from that grant funding. That grant funding then ran out, and we took on the remainder of the school year out of last year's school budget. This year, we'll be taking on the full cost of that school resource officer program. It's running at the same level this next year as it has this past year, which is a part-time employee who will be with us through the whole school year, but funded by the Highland Central School District budget. And we also would like to just mention that as we move through this next school year, we will of course be looking for any other grant funds that are out there for this type of work, and working with the town of Lloyd to help secure other officers in the future. So this is just the beginning stages of this program, and we would like to see it develop over the next couple of years. This also maintains our current staffing levels. We mentioned last year, we said the grant funds were drying up from the COVID stimulus monies, and we had many positions that were funded through those through that funding source. That money is going away, but we felt it was important as a district that those positions remain. Many of them were mental health individuals, providing support, social emotional learning supports for our students, and we see that those folks are still valuable and needed, so we built that into our budget. Additionally, with some of the learning loss, we have increased some of our academic intervention programs in the past couple of years, and we were able to roll those into this upcoming budget. So that will also be there.
So this budget firmly supports our mission and our district.
So this is what the propositions will look like on the ballot. So the first ballot is Proposition 1. It's for $52,476,480. Again, this is a simple majority vote. We are not looking to pierce any caps or anything of that nature. You may have heard that kind of talk around in other districts that try to do that. But this year we are within the cap. And the second proposition is a school bus proposition. Many years ago, we built a plan to constantly look at the aging fleet of our buses, and we put a plan in place to replace a few buses each year. So this is for 2 school buses at a maximum cost of $266,756.
And you will also have the ability on the ballot to vote for 2 trustees. Those candidates are Alan Malone and Heather Welch.
And again, the annual meeting of the budget vote is on Tuesday, May 16th, 2023, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., right down the hallway here in the Highland High School Band Room, room D10. There's plenty of parking out here in our parking lot, so we reserve parking close to the building for folks to easily get into the band room to cast their ballot that day.
And absentee ballots are available for eligible voters, and applications can be downloaded from the Highland website. Also, there is additional information regarding absentee ballots on the website. All absentee ballots must be returned by 5 p.m. on May 16th. And finally, our voter qualifications. You need to be a U.S. citizen, registered to vote, 18 years of age or older, and a resident of the Highland Central School District for at least 30 days. If you need any other information on this, you can contact our district clerk, Lisa. Her information is up on the screen. And that is our presentation for tonight. And again, we'd like to thank the board again for their support and the Highland staff. So thank you very much.
And then just one more piece of information. Our budget newsletter went to print early this week. We were trying to hold out long enough to find out what was going to happen with the state budget. We had to pull that newsletter together and had to send it out. We hear that something is happening with Albany, and we'll be getting more information in the next few days. We explained in the budget newsletter what we would do if we got a little bit more money and what we would do if we got a little bit less money. But again, still within a balanced budget, still with the proposed budget that we currently have here. That newsletter is currently on our website. If you want to get a digital copy, so that's up. It's about 16 pages. It's got all the numbers, but it also has all the stories about all the great things that happen in our school district, so please take a look at it. It also will be mailed out to all district residents, hopefully by Thursday, and will be in mailboxes by the weekend. So please take the time. A lot of work went into that newsletter. Please take the time to look it over. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to Lisa, any of the board members, or any administrator will be glad to answer any questions. Okay? Anyone else have anything? Okay.
I just had a question in terms of the budget being late in Albany. Have you noticed impact at all yet, or not?
No, we were actually able to balance our budget just on the preliminary numbers from the budget that was for the, we had a placeholder in our budget, but.
We were told that the numbers were roughly going to be around the same, so we're pretty confident with this proposed budget.
All right. Thank you, Joel and Lindsay. And again, on behalf of the entire board, we'd like to thank our administrative team, especially Lindsay Idell, put together this budget this year. Hopefully that the voters will come out and vote on May 16th to support our budget. Thank you. Okay, we'll move right into our regular meeting. We'll open up the floor to public comment. Okay, we'll close public comment. Tonight we have another special presentation from our design team in regards to our current capital project. We have Dion Miller from CS Arch, and we have Scott Butler from the Palumbo Group, who will give us an update and where we are with Phase 1 and Phase 2.
Everybody from Dion Miller, Project Architect, CS Arch. With me, I have Scott Butler from the Palumbo Group, who may join me in a few minutes with any questions regarding the schedule. But really, I wanted to present to the community and the board today an update on where we're at with the design phase of Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the capital project. So first, I'm going to talk about Phase 1 update. Currently at New York State Education Department in the review process. Update on Phase 2, where we're at with some of our concepts, and some touch base on the reminder of what the scope of work is there, and then open it up to some questions. So for Phase 1, Phase 1 is currently at SCD. It was submitted to the State Education Department at the end of January. At that time, we anticipated about an 8 to 10 week turnaround in the review process. Because of the recent projects and federal funding progress kind of getting into SCD, they've kind of taken precedent, and capital projects have kind of taken a back seat to those projects. So in more recent weeks, the architectural review is anywhere from 12 to 14 weeks, and engineering review is about 14 to 16 weeks. As of the update that was SCD published last week, the first Highland project for Phase 1 was about 20 projects behind that project. And for engineering review is about 170 more projects ahead of us. So that's about a couple weeks out before we even have engineering review picked up. Good news, we did get the first round of architectural comments yesterday, and CSR did respond to them yesterday, so we're waiting to see if that will suffice and get us the architectural review. And then we'll hold tight and wait for the engineering comments to come through. All right, so Phase 2, I kind of want to present some of the concepts we've been working through with some of the end users, the athletics department, the food services, the principal of the high school, staff, the elementary school, the maintenance and operations staff. I'm going to go touch on all the work that we're planning and show some of the concepts we're working on as well. So at the bus garage, what's planned for Phase 2 is ceiling replacements in the offices, and then lighting replacements in the offices, as well as some of the bus garage itself. At the elementary school, boiler replacements of the pneumatic control systems, ventilation improvements, hardening of gym lights, which includes some cages and additional supports to make sure they're not damaged when getting hit by objects in the gym. Roof drain replacement, especially in the gym area where we have some leaking, and some crack repair in some of the multi-purpose room, which includes some flooring and some CMU wall cracks. The biggest new structure at the elementary school is the outdoor classroom. So the outdoor classroom is planned to be almost a kit of parts of sorts. It's a pre-engineered metal or steel frame building with a metal roof. The intent is to do hold outdoor classes out there, and have some capabilities for electric and data for future teaching. At the middle school, a lot more infrastructure based at the middle school. New generator, ventilation improvements, boiler replacements, pneumatic control replacements, piping upgrades, removal of some abandoned water equipment, gym lighting, and ceiling repairs, as well as replacement of the public address system, the bell system, upgrading the fire alarm, and refurbishing the elevator. At the high school, this is where a lot of the major work is happening. We have some infrastructure work. A lot of it is really focused on some renovation work inside the building as well as the athletic complex. So hardening of the lighting in the gym, recoating the gym ceilings, ventilation improvements, the gym, library, cafeteria, kitchen, and boiler replacements. The first thing I want to go through is our design concept. We've been working with the principals and the assistant principal here at high school to renovate their office. So on the left is their existing floor plan, and essentially there's two offices. In between the offices is a series of 2 bathrooms and closets. With the design for the revised layout and renovation, The intent would be to do new floor finishes, ceiling finishes, lighting, new doors, and essentially for both the offices, and then new floor finishes, ceilings, lights for the ancillary spaces, the passage between the two offices, and then introducing one accessible toilet room, and then two closets serving one of each of the offices. Essentially, the existing condition is getting rid of both toilet rooms that are currently between the two offices and going with one ADA accessible toilet room, but still giving them the storage back that we're taking out. For food service, which is the office right here, right now it's kind of up on that platform, which is the old stage. The intent would be to take the walls down from cafeteria into the food service, get rid of all that raised floor system, and then rebuild that office. So right now there's an open office and then two smaller offices towards the back. And the intent would be to split it up into a reception area and a larger office for the director, but still maintain a connection into the cafeteria. And then now from the corridor, you won't have to step up anymore. You'll be able to walk right into that space from the corridor. So the biggest thing we're working on is the athletic complex, and we worked with the athletics departments, some of the coaches, athletic director, to kind of go through some of this. So the biggest things for the athletic complex is the running track, the turf field replacement, the bleachers, press box, and the concession stand toileting building. So this is a current concept of where we're at with the entire athletic complex. So this is looking towards the bottom is the top of the hill, behind the press box, and at the top is where the high school building is, so it's working our way back. We're working with athletics to design the new running track, 6-lane running track with both D zones. The D zones are the D-shaped area between the end zone and the curved area of the track. Both those areas be paved, allowing for a new steeplechase pit to be installed in the north side of the track, so that event can take place at invitationals, as well as working with the track coach to set up things like timing systems for the field. We were working with athletics to talk about how they want to lay out the turf field, including logos and lettering and line striping colors for lacrosse, football, soccer. Towards the bottom of the page is kind of towards the back is actually the expansion of the bleachers. So the intent is to expand the bleachers up the hill. At the top of those bleachers, put a new press box. And to the left of the page is kind of by all the pavilion, so by the bus garage. That's where the new concession stand building is. So just a quick concept to understand the intent of the bleacher expansion. So there's about 500 seats right now in the existing bleachers. And then the expansion will expand up the hill, give us another 500 seats, the capacity of about 1,000. At the top of that will be our press box, which I'll get into a little bit more, but the intent would be to kind of keep the press box separate. It would be attached to the structure of the bleachers, but prevent any access from the bleachers to the press box. There would be a barricade there. The press box itself, divided into 3 spaces, the center space being the public address announcer, and then either side being the away and home team press and camera guys. Just some elevations of the bleachers and press box from where they look like now. This is the initial concept of the concession stand building. So in the concession stand, we have a women's toilet room, a men's toilet room, a gender-neutral toilet room, concessions, of course, and utility space. For the women's toilet room, we're looking at 7 toilets and 4 sinks. This is based on the plumbing code. And then in the men's room, 2 sinks, 2 urinals, and 2 toilets. All the wastewater from this building will be pumped to a manhole out by the locker rooms. And the intent would be for this building to be a 3-season building, to be drained down in the winter, not used in the winter. But we would house other concessions serving the field in this area in addition to the toileting needed to support the expanded capacity of the field. A few elevation shots of the concession stand building. This being your main elevation looking towards the field. This is your main elevation looking towards the high school. And just a rendering that we did from inside the concession stand to kind of show what that space is going to look like when it's complete. Questions?
So right now, would the new field incorporate all the track and field activities, or they would remain where they are? So you mentioned steeplechase, but long jump.
So right now, long jump is being reviewed to see if we can actually fit it in the South D zone. I know there's currently some concerns with the long jump sand pit. There's a lot of water that gets in there. So ideally, if you see if we can relocate that and fit it within the constraints of it. Things like the shot put and throwing events can't be within the field because of the turf. You won't be throwing on turf, so those things have to be kept out of the
So
field
they'll
area.
stay on the south side.
Yeah. But yeah, really the running events, you should be able to incorporate all the running events within the new track. And again, we're exploring the option of seeing if the jumping events can be added.
Dion, with the changing out of the pneumatic control systems, controls, will that be it for our buildings? Or will we still have some left?
The intent was to get rid of everything, but that's not to say that we can't replace what we can't see. There's possible that there's a lot of stuff hidden behind the walls. But for the stuff that we know is there, we're going to try to take that all out. But I mean, for example, the middle school is so old, there's probably a lot of that stuff running where you can't see it, and we're not going to be taking down every single wall to removing every system.
No, obviously, but the intent is to minimize what's left.
Correct. Yep.
And
Compressors come out, tubing comes out, panels come out, valves come out.
okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Dion, the overall size of the concession stand, do you have that?
It's about 40 by 26.
And the actual serving area for the concession stand, do you know that size offhand?
15 by 15.
15 by 15. And if you were to add that additional storage space to that, that would go on the east side or the west side?
So we're looking at, this would be the west side, so here, we're looking to add that additional space. So the utility room is actually pretty large, and we can incorporate some more storage in there.
Into that.
Add storage. We also been looking at putting some mechanical systems up in the attic above the space, so kind of just leaving this open to some electrical panels. We need to keep the mop sink on the ground. This space could ultimately be an open space if we can get all the mechanicals up. But the intent is if we have to grow, we grow this way towards the pavilion.
Right.
Is this three-season concept, I mean, is that standard for these types of buildings, or, yeah? So like the pavilion at Tony Williams, where's Frank? I saw him walk in here. I see him back there. Like the field house at Tony Williams, is that thing drained down over the winter?
Yes.
Okay. And restarting these buildings, nothing that would cause a delay? It's relatively a simple process?
Yeah, so it's, and there's a couple of reasons why we're doing it. I mean, first of all, you want to pay for the bills to heat it in the summer, in the winter, you don't have to. So the intent would be tempered, so it'd be kept at a standard temperature throughout the year, and then not have to pay to
Heat it. It's really heating.
Also, you don't want to worry about having anything nasty sitting in the waste lines. So if you can drain that system out, you don't have to worry about anything backing back up into the system. So
Okay.
reasons why we kind of flush the system out completely.
It also is not designed to meet energy code, right?
Yeah, so because it's tempered, it's not designed for energy code.
And if it were, that price that we would see for construction.
Because now because the
Yeah,
biggest
of
thing is we
course.
have to put a skin system on top of the main drain because you need not only continuous installation, but a cavity installation as well. So it adds cost to it. Keeping the tempered building brings costs down.
Thank you.
Dion, your anticipated timeline for Phase 2 to be submitted is end of the summer? Summer's-
June 30th is our submission date for Phase 2.
Okay.
And we're anticipating 3 to 4 months for a turnaround then. By that time, we're pretty confident we'll get over the hump of our projects and Chris's project.
Right.
On the turf field, you said right now it's going to be laid out for football, soccer, and lacrosse, correct? The flag football program, do they have dimensions, field dimensions that are any different than any of those three?
They do, and I believe we've been in discussions with athletes about doing that, approaching that a different way, whether that means it's temporary line striping, paint, they make turf paint that's washable. So, the thing is, if you start to add all these lines, it does get really confusing on the field. So we have to kind of think about it strategically about what kind of sports are playing there at the same time, because you don't want to make it confusing for one sport, not the other. So we're looking at other options. We can do temporary line striping for those sports, like football.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Is there maintenance issues when you do temporary painting on the turf in terms of like removal and adding it, like continuously? Like, did that break down the wear and tear of that?
Should know.
It sounds reasonable that there would be limits to the number of sports you could strike to get in space. Right. There's got to be balance.
Yeah, with the new synthetic turfs that are out there, what's the life expectancy of some of these turfs?
12, 15 years?
They're still at that 12 to 15? They haven't really improved on that?
No, not really, no.
Okay.
The thing is, if it starts getting, if you're going to see the industry standard, you're kind of becoming proprietary. For the manufacturers, you're dependent for you, but if you have to do a public bid, it's not really the best. Well, yeah, it's still about 12, 15 years for these field before the carpet gets done. But every year they should be maintained. You should be turning up the rubber, turning up the material, doing impact tests on them every once in a while to make sure there's no changes to the surface. So,
The equipment to maintain the field comes with the purchase of the field, does it not? Or is that something additional? Like you want that redistributor thing that gets pulled behind?
I think that's additional, yeah.
Well, we're going to, obviously you're going to
When we
get
to
that stuff.
When we get to that point, we'll most likely purchase the turf off the state contract. There's really 2 proprietary systems that we're going on. There's different maintenance packages. that
Yeah.
have, So it'll all be part of that committee discussion to make sure that you're not buying something you're not going to use. Sometimes it makes sense to subcontract that to the state representatives to do it themselves, and you get your testing along with that. So it'll all be a conversation piece to be had. Thank you.
And luckily with that, we'll be able to do the multi-purpose turf that's over here, the old tennis courts. We'll be able to do that as well, so.
This is more for the board. Should we consider budgeting for a planned replacement down the line, or would we just want to look at it as a project?
It might be a little early. Let's see what type of install we get, what the product is.
I mean, the answer is yes.
Right.
The warranty on the field itself?
8 to 10.
Yeah.
And then it's a function of wearability. Obviously, if we get aggressive and you do a lot of sports and complex, the wear goes up, so your useful life goes down. So, yes, in the
So
very
we should temper it with the
near
warranty.
future to
Yeah.
have a replacement plan in that.
Right, but I believe that replacement plan should fall under, we have to, in another year or so, we have to look into our capital reserve to expand that, because right now it sunsets, I think, in a couple of years, I believe, Lindsay? Yeah,
Next year.
Next year. So that's going to be our next discussion if we're going to move forward to reinitiate the capital reserve and what type of funding we're going to put towards it.
I would just like, we kept it in balance with the warranty, so that that way it is a minimal impact.
Right.
When it comes time.
Sure.
Your track resurfacing will be on that as well,
Okay.
right? So there's a couple of things that will hit that, 8 to 10 year reoccurrence mark.
As far as the color scheme on track and turf, has that been established yet? Or is that going to incorporate athletics, buildings and grounds, and the board to come to a final determination on color scheme?
Yeah, we have been talking about that. We haven't come to the final determination, but we know from past installs that sometimes certain colors are not the best. So we'll stay away from things like black. You'll have there's cost increase for things like purple, which I don't think we can do that here, but we're gonna stay in the range with we can do
The
that.
picture looked pretty good. Can we bring that up? Is that something you're considering, or?
So this is
What
the
are you
standard.
thinking, Al?
That's the standard track color, the clay red that you see everywhere. Along those lines and within the same price range.
I like Marlboro's
gray
color.
and blue, but beyond that, you're paying more premiums for orange, purple, specialized reds and blues, stuff like that.
We know that some of those reds and blues do end up fading over time in certain areas, so
Sure.
you're actually finding the traditional cinder color or gray becoming pretty popular.
I like the gray.
Black fades out too, especially in the middle of those lanes, because they're constantly being used.
And you have to worry about obviously darker the color, in addition to fading, it creates heat islands essentially in between, so the athletic field will get really hot. So you want to go lighter. Red is usually good, gray, and light blue. It's usually wants to keep the heat down the inside of the field.
We've had a discussion on having a field trip, going to a couple of local fields, us to do some line looking layouts so that we know what conflicts with what you can't see because of what's in the end zone or what's on the field. We had a conversation about flag football. Flag football lines are basically a combination of some football lines and some lacrosse lines. And it looks a little confusing, and when we had a flag football game here, I know there was a discussion with the officials on what lines were what, so it is confusing.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we,
You might need some stand-up markers as well. Maybe you were using those, I don't know.
well, there's pylons that go with flag football, there's all the normal stuff that you have to have out there. So we want to make sure that we have a color combination and a layout that is easily discernible and not confusing to whatever sport you're playing. So we're going to head into that with enough caution to be logical about it.
And again, going back to hopefully trying to get the additional storage on that concession stand will be ideal for the new equipment that we'll need to maintain the field to keep that out of the elements during the winter months. And I know our current maintenance facility is somewhat cramped with all the new maintenance equipment we have to keep it, the life expectancy where it should be and keep it under cover during the inclement weather. So if we can really push for that, that would be beneficial, I think. Scott, do you have any update in regards to moving phase one this season, or you were still on the same track as your last presentation?
Still on the same track. If we're projecting where we are with the SED approvals, we won't see that back like somewhere in the middle of June, late June. I would like to bid an electrical package. This will be primarily for the elementary school. Their switchgear, their panels, their lights. Some stuff will show up in the fall, some stuff will show up in the spring, or ready to go work in 2024. Our bid is to then pretty much bid the rest of the work as soon as SED approves, we hope, in October, November. So we'd have the entire capital project bid this calendar year, then just phased out for installs based on procurement schedules.
Okay.
Can we have this board docs, so if people go to the agenda, they can click on the link and see it. Because I know when I'm asked questions, I like to send people the link, like, here it is, read it. It was just at the last meeting.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions for our design team?
Yeah, I got a couple questions, Scott. Is there any possibility of getting anything done this fall? Like
This fall,
it's coming? Fencing maybe at the middle school?
it's a discussion that we have. It really comes down to what do we want to pay for and what access do we want to provide the contractors. We've got fencing around the basketball area at the elementary school. We've got fencing around the athletic field behind the middle school. It's not a couple-day job, so we just need to be cautious on what obstructions we have with the operations, right? We would need the yard, the area, there's still gym classes.
No, obviously.
Right, if it's just going to sit there, I'd rather have it out of the way so the school doesn't have to work around it.
I think that could be done if possible, and would appreciate if we look in that direction, if we can. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we thank you guys for that presentation. I think that gives us as a board a good feel of where Phase 2 is and the designs. And like Mike had said, we've gotten some feedback from community members concerned that there wasn't any activity, but being able to show them what's happening and the delays from SCD, I think they're going to get a better understanding of how the project is going to proceed within the next year or so. So thank you, guys. Okay, moving forward, we have our consent agenda, our consent items from FA to C7. If there's anything in there that you need clarification, you'd like to pull out to have a separate vote, we can do that. If there's any questions, concerns, right after I ask for a motion to move it, we can entertain any of your questions or concerns. So can I have a motion to move the consent items from FA to C7? Motion by Tom, second by Heather. Any questions?
Just one moment, Al. I thought
Sure.
I had one here.
I just have a quick question on the pupil benefits plan contract. What is that contract for?
That's our student accident plan insurance
Okay,
for next year.
thank you.
So, under business and operations, the revised final cost reports for Phase 1B, that's for this current capital project that we're talking about, or that's the one we're closing out?
That's the one before that.
It's the one we're closing out. So you did vote on this last meeting, but they wanted the smart school bond was a portion of that capital project. They wanted it listed on those documents, so sent it back. So once that's on, then they will be closed.
All right, thank you.
And I have one question, Lindsay. On Auctions International, that name hasn't popped up in recent board meetings, but do we utilize those?
For bus surplus?
Yep. It goes through them, okay.
Yes.
Because I know we do sell, the buses, but I thought that was all done, within-house. But we utilize a firm to do that. Do they auction any of our other equipment?
They can. I don't think that we have used it.
So we use them strictly for the buses?
Right.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried, 6-0. All right. Dr. Boyd.
Good evening. Happy May, everyone. We're at the point in the year where we're finding the balance of the end of the year activities, finishing strong while also preparing for the 23-24 school year. As I mentioned at the last meeting, we're looking at our incoming kindergarten class. So this Friday, we will be doing our kindergarten screening for all of our students who are registered for kindergarten. Will be coming in to do some testing and to get to meet our staff. On top of that, we're doing visits to some preschools. I was out with some staff today to look at some of our incoming students, so we're well aware of the needs of the students to make sure that we're prepared for a successful transition for them. Last week each month I meet with all the PPS directors and assistant superintendents, and we were able to tour the Port Ewan campus of Ulster BOCES. They've been restructuring all of their programs and moving things around, so we're awaiting final word on where they're putting all their programs. This will affect some of our transportation a little bit, and I'll be working with Ms. McCulloch on preparation for that, but they're looking to move the programs more based on grade level than specific need of students. So that's what they're working on currently. I've been working with our staff at Questar BOCES to put in our paperwork for our stacks, which we have to do each year, which is part of our reimbursement process for our students whose costs exceed our threshold that the state sets for us. And lastly, each year we are evaluated on a specific criteria for special education services. If you remember last year, we were evaluated on parent involvement in CSE meetings, and we had a very favorable return on that. This year we are being evaluated on our timeline for students who come to us from early intervention, which is services provided by the county from birth through 2 years old, and then we take over once they hit 3. So we're evaluated on our job is to make sure that the students are evaluated and we have an IEP in place by their 3rd birthday, so then they can transition to, although the services are still provided by the county, that's when our involvement really begins, is at the age of 3. And there's some exceptions to criteria with timelines of when children transition from EI to preschool, but we work within the county with all of that. And just some kudos to our staff who's developed some positive relationships with the early intervention providers, so we try to get the information as early as possible for those students so we can be prepared, because in the past sometimes they'd come to us a week before their 3rd birthday and it would be a pretty difficult turnaround. So we are working on that, and that's one of the criteria that we're being evaluated on for this year.
Any questions for Dr. Boyd? Thank you. Mr. Zimmer?
Good evening, everyone. I have 3 items to share with you this evening. For the first 2, each board member has 2 handouts in front of them to which you can refer as I am speaking. First, the Seal of Civic Readiness is a recognition program in New York State that acknowledges and rewards high school graduates who have demonstrated a commitment to civic engagement and readiness for college, career, and community. To earn the seal, students must complete a set of requirements, including coursework in civics and government, community service, and demonstrations of leadership and interpersonal skills. The Seal of Civic Readiness aims to encourage young people to become active and engaged members of their communities and to prepare them for success in the 21st century. This is one of the pathways that New York State is setting forth for our future graduates. And to explain it simply, instead of passing both, as of right now, to graduate high school, you need to pass 2 Regents exams in social studies.
Students who go with this pathway will have to pass only one of those 2 exams with a 65 or better, and then there's a series, there's a menu, and on the back of the handout, there are many choices that students can do, and they have to earn 6 points to get there. So the reason I bring this up is because the high school social studies department chair recently visited all 10th and 11th grade social studies classes to inform students about this exciting opportunity. Currently, the department is in the process of drafting the application for this program, and we anticipate it'll be offered beginning for our next school year with the class of 2024. To earn this distinction, students will be required to participate in a combination of coursework and civic action to demonstrate their knowledge and participation in various levels of government. As outlined on the back of the handout, eligible students must earn 6 points, and they will have the option to choose how to achieve them. We will, of course, keep the Board of Education updated once the program is approved and up and running. And I would like to extend our appreciation to the high school social studies department and the department chair for their efforts in initiating this program. That's exciting news. And as of, I believe when I asked, I was told that we probably have about 10 students who will be eligible next year for the Civic Seal of Readiness, and they will probably also have passed both of their Regents exams in addition to getting the Civic Seal, which is nice. So second, the other handout you have is an article from the Kingston Freeman. On March 17th, our high school Model United Nations Club collaborated with students from New Paltz High School to explore and suggest solutions to current global issues. The conference was a success, and I'm proud to share a copy of the article published in the Daily Freeman with you. 20 of our talented students attended the event and showcased their skills in diplomacy, critical thinking, and problem solving. We extend our gratitude to advisor Stephanie Santagata for organizing and facilitating this enriching experience for our students. I thought that was important to share. And finally, UPK update. The application window for our Universal Pre-Kindergarten program ended last Friday, April 28th, and I'm pleased to announce that the UPK lottery was conducted this morning. We received a total of 80 applicants, out of which 40 were selected at random to participate in the program. The remaining 40 applicants have been placed on a waiting list, and if a spot becomes available, they will be contacted in the order in which they were waitlisted. We will reach out to those who have been selected this week with further information on the next steps and how to complete the registration process. It is mandatory to complete the registration process by May 31st to secure a seat. We are excited to welcome the selected pre-K students and are confident that the UPK program will provide a strong foundation for their educational journey. So that's some exciting news we have. And that's all I have for you this evening.
Any questions?
Just a comment. It's very uplifting. I know in the article we see 2 schools represented, but look at all those kids involved in Model UN.
Right.
Very nice.
Yes.
Agreed. Thank you.
Okay, Superintendent Freer?
Sorry about that. I'll just talk loud. I don't know why that's doing that, but. So this coming Friday, I will be attending the Ulster County Emergency Management monthly meeting with Mr. Zimmer at the Ulster County Law Enforcement Center. So that will be this Friday. Just a reminder to the board, we will be honoring Holly Brooker at the UXPA meeting on May 25th. And I know Lisa sent something out, but we do need to have an RSVP on who's planning to attend that as soon as possible so that they have their final numbers. I am cautiously optimistic in saying that we are at the final stages of our district office canopy. We are now at the spot where we are authorizing the capstone portion of the project, and so I think I'm just going to leave it at that, and hopefully I can report that it's all going well. It's been 2 long years trying to get that project to completion, so I think we are almost there. I know our design team and construction folks were here earlier, and they mentioned that we did get some notices yesterday. My email started to be flooded right around
3:30 from State Ed that various parts of Phase 1 are at least now on the reviewer's desk. So as soon as they get there, they let you know that they have them. So now we just have to wait for those projects to go through the final review. And I think Dion has already mentioned that they've already been into the portal and answered some of the questions that that State Ed had put before them. So that's exciting news. I mentioned it during the budget presentation, but our budget newsletter is on our website, and it is being printed as we speak, and it should be mailed out by the end of the week. Tomorrow morning, Lindsay and I will be at the Rotary at 7 a.m. to give a presentation for those folks. Just want to wish our high school students best of luck. The AP exams started this week, and so there's a whole host of students that are involved in that, so best wishes to them. 3 through 8 math testing started today. Tomorrow is day 2, and I wish them well tomorrow, and thank the administrators and guidance department at the middle school and the secretaries at the elementary school for all the work that they did to get that process up and going. NICES lab testing starts a week from Monday for our E&L students. This Friday we have a superintendent's conference day. Patrick mentioned we'll be screening our incoming kindergarten students, and the rest of our staff will be involved in professional development opportunities across the district. On Monday, May 15th, Lindsay and I will be hosting a joint PTA meeting with the middle school and the high school to give the presentation to those folks. That will be a Zoom meeting at 7 p.m. If anyone's interested in joining, let me know and I'll get you that link. Again, a reminder, the budget vote and trustee elections are May 16th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the Highland High School band room. And that's all I have. I'm going to be saying that a lot. It's like the capital project all over again.
Yeah. Any questions for the superintendent?
Just a quick question on the 3 through 8 testing. I know we had already had the first piece of it. How are we looking in terms of students taking it versus not?
I think every year we have a few more students take it. We still are, we're still having difficulties getting that opt-out number down. It is trending down, but it is not trending down the way it has in other places. Yep.
Anyone else? Okay. Under Board of Education, new business, we have the first reading for that policy 3282F, personal forms. This is regard to dedicating a facility, a room, a building to any individual that served our community, and we want to acknowledge that. So we have that first reading, and the second part of the first reading would be policy 3282, which is the community relations regards to, one's the form that has to be filled out, the other one is the actual policy too.
Right, so it's a little confusing the way it's presented here. It's really just policy 3282, number 2. But you don't necessarily have to approve a form. That's like an administrative reg, right? So we're going to approve the policy, and that would be the form that one uses, but that, I mean, we can adopt, you don't have to adopt it. It's really the policy we're looking at for this first reading.
All right, so, I mean, I'm not sure if you guys want to move forward this evening with that. We can go to a second reading and approve it at our May 16th meeting, and maybe in the meantime, legal could advise if that could be one policy.
Yeah, the only reason why we sent it is just so that you had a copy of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
It can be
That's what the
approved-
form is. That's what somebody would use to
Correct.
nominate.
It can be approved as one thing, because it's all one thing.
One, yeah.
This is a big thing, you know, when you're asked to dedicate, or this also covers the receipt of gifts and stuff like that, honorariums per se.
Sure.
But, you know, I'd like to be sure that each board member read it, maybe have a little dialogue, because one thing about this policy, it puts a lot of the ownership on the person making the recommendation. So I want folks to understand that when somebody gives you, I'd like to dedicate this cafeteria to Mark Reynolds, and he's a great guy, well, it's really up to that person making the recommendation to get a committee together per that form and meet all those qualifications.
Is everyone okay with moving it forward? If you have any questions or concerns, if you have
No, I'm in favor of moving forward on it.
for second reading? Or you want to move forward this evening?
I'll go tonight.
I'd like a second reading. I want to make sure everybody here understands the form and the flow. No need to rush, per se, and let's just make sure that this is the policy we want.
Okay, so we'll move it forward to a second reading, and that will be on our May 16th agenda.
I'll include it in my Friday update with a note that that's what we're going to do, so that everyone sees it.
Sure. Okay, does anyone have anything for old business? Anything for new business?
Old business, just a comment on the budget, because the hearing went very quickly, and there was really and there shouldn't really be too many questions when you're coming at or below the state cap. But I just want to let folks know, we don't take a budget-to-budget increase of 7% lightly. There's a few drivers for that. It's a big aid year. With aid coming into the school, there's also rising costs of goods, and in this case, you saw that like 73% of our budget is labor, and we've had to shore up some labor costs. There's rising labor costs associated, and we know that for everybody coming out of this COVID period we were in. So we don't take it lightly. However, it does come under the 2% cap, and really, I think, positions the Highland Central School District to be successful on many fronts moving forward. So I just wanted to make that comment, because you might get some criticisms, and what's the counteract that? Well, rising costs, everybody's budget's going to increase unless you're saying no to the extra foundation aid, and we know that coming out of COVID, there's costs, we're seeing that all over the place. So just a commentary on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for those comments. Anybody else for old business? Okay, under miscellaneous correspondence, we did have one correspondence, and we took care of that one. And Joel mentioned the Ulster County School Boards Association Awards Dinner, so if you are going to attend, get to Lisa ASAP. All right. Anybody have anything else for the good and welfare of the district? All right, we'll open the meeting up to public comment. This is for general comments. Okay, we'll close public comment. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn to go into executive session. We will not re-enter. The executive session is for contract negotiations.
Motion.
Motion by Mike, second by Janine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.